I find it interesting that for me, my taste in foods and sweets kind of correlates with my taste in fragrance. For example, the older that I get, I'm enjoying more sweet fragrances on my skin, but they have to have a little bit of body. They have to have a salty element. They have to have a little bit of ruggedness for me to appreciate those sweet nuances. I want the sweet nuances to really be bright and sugary, but I also want some dark woods, a little bit of a salty nuance, just like a chocolate covered pretzel. You get the sweetness of that chocolate, but you get that salty bite. It all correlates with like taste, texture, and layers. So what I did was I took 5 duo fragrances that truly catch my attention. Only one of them is a direct clone. The other ones are hybrids and inspired expressions, including one original creation that have a sweet, sexy element with a lot of balls.
A lot of balls.
Let's roll my music so I can put you onto 5 sweet and sexy bangers from Dua.
We're all alone. From the south side, in case you cared, out of all your friends, I want to be
Blessed morning, my beautiful peoples. You know who it is. It's your boy, 𝐷𝐸𝐴. So as I mentioned, only one of these fragrances is an inspired expression. Most of them are tribrids, hybrids, and one original creation, which is the one I'm gonna start with. I've had this fragrance on almost every big Dua video that I've done that compiles different lists, because this is pretty much one of my favorites in their lineup, and it happens to be an original creation that has been vaulted, taken out, sold out, brought back again.
They used me.
It's gone through I don't know how many renditions, but I think this is so OG. This goes back 10+ years ago when I first got introduced to Dua, and this fragrance still to this day, I find it to be super appealing. I still have the original, but in going through all the craziness, all I could find is the newer interpretation, and that's Royal Elixir by Dua. Now what I tried to do is pinpoint what took inspiration, like where he got the inspiration for this particular fragrance from, because it also is in that hybridish type space. What it has is this beautiful pineapple gourmandy sweetness, almost syrupy sweet, but not Aventus. So remove that from your brain immediately. There is no resemblance to my nose, anything Aventus. But it does speak in a way of a hybrid, like designer meets niche. The notes in this fragrance are clary sage, pineapple, grapefruit, violet leaf, nutmeg, and leather. And I think this is one of the most beautiful ones that they've ever created, in my opinion. It hits all the things that I like. It pops off the skin, ultra sweet, syrupy, almost like a cocktail fruit concoction, that type of syrupy sensation. But then that leather component with that nutmeg adds an element of spiciness and body. The grapefruit here kind of lingers, adding a little bit of acidity to that overall sweetness of this fragrance, but it really mellows down into something beautiful. The sweetness up top, once it dries down, becomes very nicely balanced, still keeping its identity, but very sexy. And again, one of the best original interpretations, which made me push Dua and like, yo, keep doing more originals in this kind of vein, because you have the creativity. You just need to put it in action. Next one. The next one is another OG. Even the bottle is OG. I have the new rendition, but I happen to find this one first, and that's Black Widow, which is the interpretation of Killian's Black Phantom. To me, one of the best interpretations of Black Phantom that I've experienced. It was able to hit all that sweet booziness while maintaining that mysterious caramel coffee type energy. It's a dark rum that has this bold veracity about this joint that's very loud, dark, ominous, but ultra sweet, candy-like sweetness. It is that caramel with that sprinkle of sea salt. It is that booze on the rocks with a smoky essence. It is earthy, grainy, chocolatey, mysterious, sexy, bold, nighttime lituation only, and a great conversation starter, in my opinion. Very sexy, sweet, seductive, ultra delicious, and some strong ass juice. Next one. Now he had to put a heavy musk fragrance in this tribrid because it's got 2 uber strong, sweet pronounced fragrances on top, like Tom Ford's Plumlicious and Baccarat Rouge 540, and this is Plumlicious Royal Therapy. So the tribrid in this fragrance is Baccarat Rouge 540, Tom Ford's Plumlicious, and Musk Therapy by Initio. Surprisingly, the Musk Therapy off the test strip comes off on top, so it becomes clean, cottony, and mellows out into that sweet cotton candy element, followed by the juicy ripe plum of the Plumlicious. There's a little bit of a cinnamon attribute there, like an allspice blend in that mid to dry down, but this is kind of like reverse osmosis. It should be a bunch of sweetness on top with the musk at the base, however, it's reverse. It's the clean musky sensation up top with that sweet mid and dry down. A very addictive scent, and still has some sort of shower fresh cleanliness about it. After that musk tends to settle down, there's a little bit of a nuttiness that comes through with this fragrance. It is clean, it is sexy, it is sweet, it is unique, and it's got a bunch of hype fragrances in it. So this 𝗙𝗿 definitely meets that sweet, sexy, salty kind of component that I'm looking for. It's all about the balance. Next one. Here we have a clone of 𝗙𝐸 𝗙𝐿𝐒 mixed with Elysium, and that's Drowning in Supernova. I mean, you're talking about green sweetness, that Play-Doh energy that Annie brings, along with that apple and leather vibe. For me, this is sweet citrus. Perfect balance. Green, sour, gingery, little peppery spice, and a nice high leather at the base. This is masculinity, this is mass appeal, this is still adding sweetness with a whole lot of fuckboy energy.
You're just a fuckboy, like everyone says.
When you take two completely different fragrances like 𝗙𝐸 𝗙𝐿𝒐 and Elysium, take inspiration from both of them and try to marry them together and balance them accordingly, seems like no real easy task, but in here, he happened to pull it off beautifully, and it really works off that sweet and citric component, keeping that mass appeal sexy energy while not disappointing me with a little bit of a sweet vibe that I'm looking for. And finally, a monster 𝗙𝗿 with 3 inspired fragrances, all from Roja. So imagine a blend of Roja sweetie oud, candy oud, and fruity oud, and you get scrumptious, candylicious fruits of oud. Sweet.com, but addicting as shit. This joint is a newer interpretation in the collection, and once I smelled this joint, it absolutely mimicked the picture. What you smell in this fragrance is absolutely the jelly-filled interior of a macaroon. It smells like a bakery full of macaroon shells and all the jellies inside of the piping thing, getting ready to put it in this specific type. It's doughy, it's raspberry, like you can smell the seeds. That's crazy for me. Like on a jelly, like when you get a real good jam, whatever, jam or jelly, and they still have the fruit seeds inside, you truly feel like you can smell and almost taste the freaking seeds in this shit. This fragrance for me pulls out so much photorealistic gourmandy energy that it's very surprising. Like I feel that they switched up the technology on however they start diluting or mixing or Steve 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝐿ing this machinery of concoctions when they take these fragrances and truly pull out some real body in this shit. Like for me to smell a seed, like the gumminess, I can almost smell the consistency of what's that shit called? Chia seeds, like that gumminess. I get it in this joint. It's a full-blown dessert on top and on mid. On the bottom, what starts to come up is a little bit of that oud energy. So it's bringing a slight amount of funk coming through, which also feels like it enhances that jammy component. So it's got notes like rhubarb, banana, apple, juniper, and raspberry. But the green component here is definitely the minimal star. It's all about that bakery macaroon cookie. Although the name is dumb as shit, the interpretation and the image that they use couldn't be more accurate. So if you're a fan of macaroons, which happen to be one of my guilty pleasures, I can destroy a 20-pack of macaroons in one sitting before going into a full diabetic coma.
My dad has diabetes.
And this pulls it off to the 20th power. What saves this joint in the balance that I'm looking for in sweet fragrances is the oud that comes off in that base, which is actually almost animalic to a point where you're like, oh shit, is this rotten cookie? Because oud is just kind of funky. But in this shit, it definitely works like most oud fragrances. When they're wearable ouds, even if they have animalic tendencies, you can still pull them off because nobody's rarely gonna be all up in your shit like this, you know what I'm saying? But this thing is freaking good. So once again, the 5 fragrances that I think hit that sweet, salty balance, and what I'm currently looking for in the duo lineup is Scrumptious Candylicious Fruits of Oud, Drowning in Supernova, Plumlicious Royal Therapy, Black Widow, and Royal Elixir. I love y'all mother suckers from the heart. I'll put links in the description if you're interested in any of these particular fragrances. Some may be available, some may be sold out, but jot it down in your book and always wait for the biggest coupons. Generally they do 30 or 33%, especially around the holidays, so take advantage. Don't pay retail. I love y'all mother suckers from the heart, and I'll see y'all bitches next time. You know who it is. Biggest in the game. Feeling sweet and salty. Smooch.
Hey, for all the chicks that got dead in the penthouse suite on top of my mom's crib. It's long since you never get in. It's long since that you would think that you would